Hello, I'm Natalie, the mother of Madison, the most dedicated 12-year-old dancer you'll ever meet. 6 years of relentless practice. And now just minutes away from the big performance. A $5,000 scholarship and a nationwide invitation are within reach, but seriously threatened, not by injury nor by pressure, but by my sister-in-law, Heather. Can you imagine a family member sabotaging a child's dream? Before I tell you what she did, let me take you back to where it all began. The moment Madison took her first steps as a dancer, and my heart realized dreams can be passed from mother to child. When Madison was only 4 years old, she twirled around the living room like a little angel. No one taught her, no one pushed her. It was pure instinctive movement. As a former dancer sidelined by injury, I knew immediately that was the fire in her blood, undeniable. I didn't want Madison to live out my unfinished dreams. Instead, I enrolled her in a basic ballet class. After her first lesson, Madison beamed and said, "Mom, I want to dance forever." From then on, we began a journey, not as coach and student, but as two souls sharing a passion. But then, Heather came into our lives, bringing a very different energy. Heather married my brother Kevin 8 years ago. From the start, I sensed an underlying tension in every glance. Although I had organized many charity events, she constantly rejected any suggestions for the wedding planning. Heather didn't just want to control the wedding, she wanted to control the women in the family. Later, when her twin daughters started dance classes with Madison, things became clearer. She wasn't seeking her children's growth, she was seeking victory. Heather couldn't accept that Madison Younger had natural talent and determination. Jealousy started creeping in, then exploded. In the early years, I ignored Heather's passive remarks. "Oh, Madison's still doing those cute little routines. Ashley's been doing that since last year." Or ballet isn't for someone with her body type. I endured it. For family. But Madison heard it all. Each time her eyes would lower. Then, dance shoes went missing before performances with Heather nearby Madison's bag. Later, she sent us the wrong performance schedule, nearly causing us to miss a competition. That's when I started wondering, was I paranoid? Or was Heather really sabotaging us? But I didn't realize it was just a warm-up for the bigger storm ahead. The Grand Prix. The Grand Prix isn't just any competition. It's a national dream with less than 10% of applicants qualifying. Madison practiced nonstop, 4 hours a day after school. Our whole family revolved around this journey. Ryan, my husband, worked overtime to pay tuition and hire a private coach. I cut back on accounting contracts. Even my gamer brother Tyler volunteered to wash dishes so Madison could have more practice time. Sophia, a talented choreographer, said Madison dances with her soul and stayed after class for extra coaching. It wasn't just dance, it was art love heart, and it was something Heather would never understand. The performance dress was a big investment, $850, jade green with crystal shimmer, custom designed to highlight every movement Madison made. Ryan looked into our daughter's eyes and said, "You deserve the best." At the final fitting, Madison whispered, "I feel like a real dancer." I had to turn away to wipe my tears. That's the moment every mother longs for, when your child truly believes in herself. But no one expected Heather, who had been silent all this time, to be scheming. When she learned her daughters weren't qualified for the main category like Madison, something inside her shattered. The night before the event, Madison couldn't sleep from excitement and nerves. She practiced deep breathing and visualized every step. It wasn't just a performance, it was the peak of 6 years of effort. At the same time, Kevin, my brother, called whispering that Heather was unstable. She was pushing Amber and Ashley to exhaustion, repeatedly playing videos of past competitors as if trying to beat Madison. The competition was no longer for the kids, it was Heather's ego battle. Kevin was worried, but helpless. I began feeling a chill down my spine, yet I still couldn't guess what awaited us the next morning. At 5 a.m., I woke Madison. Her eyes were bright, nervous, but eager. I carefully styled her hair into a perfect bun, applied makeup just as Sophia instructed. While doing this, Madison silently rehearsed movements on her thigh, soft as dancing in her mind. "What if I forget?" she asked, worried eyes. I smiled. "You'll improvise, just like Sophia taught, but I believe you won't forget. You know this dance better than your own name." We left home with hope, love, and a heart unknowingly walking into a devious trap. At the waiting room, everyone was already there. Madison focused on warm-ups. I was hanging the jade green dress when Heather appeared oddly radiant with Amber, Ashley, and tow. She kissed me on the cheek, laughed loudly, and said as if we were very close, "Natalie, so nice to see you too," her voice echoing to draw attention, then subtly jabbed, "We picked a more subtle hairstyle. Judges usually prefer maturity, not flashy." I forced a smile, but my heart felt heavy. Her friendliness today was like the calm before the storm. Over the next hour, Heather surprisingly became kind, handing out water, complimenting others' outfits, flawless, radiant smiles. I should have recognized it was a mask. When the announcer called Madison on stage, I helped her put on the jade green dress. And that's when the nightmare began. I realized something was wrong. Something important had disappeared. Heather, standing just a few steps away, wore a slight chilling smile. And if I was right, if she really did it, this wasn't just jealousy, it was intentional sabotage. I stood frozen, my hands trembling as they touched the soft purple fabric. "Madison, when did you do this?" I whispered. Madison gently caressed the dress as if reassuring both of us. "Sophia and I ordered it over a month ago. She said if we prepare well, no one can make us fail." My eyes stung, not from anger or fear, but pride. My little girl had quietly planned ahead, ready for the worst, while I wasn't. Madison opened her makeup bag, pulling out matching ribbons, hair clips, and shoes. "I just need you to zip it up for me once more, but this time, it's for a new beginning." I nodded, swallowing hard. "I'm ready." Back in the dressing room, Madison wore the new dress silent like a warrior before battle. Heather's eyes flashed with surprise, not guilt, but shock. "Oh, she changed dresses." Her tone was dripping with sarcasm, but Madison didn't respond. She stood before the mirror, adjusted her posture, and smiled at herself. Another parent whispered, "That girl's got guts. The new dress even stands out more than the old one." Heather started losing her composure while I just stood there with my arms crossed, no words needed because Madison was speaking for us all. Not with words, with presence, with strength. The silent counterattack had begun, and this time, we had the advantage. When Madison's name was called, I held my breath. She stepped onto the stage, the purple dress shimmering under the lights, every move perfectly executed. The audience was silent. No hesitation, no sign of pain or fear. Heather stood frozen at the back. "Whose dance is this?" a judge whispered. I realized they were witnessing something special. Madison was turning pain into power, betrayal into motivation. Every step sent a message, "I won't fall, Mom. I fight for what I love." At the end of the performance, the hall erupted. Not a single mistake, not a single falter. Heather was stiff as the judges came onto the stage. Contestant number 213, Madison Lane. Technical score 9.8. Performance score 10.0. I nearly collapsed. The whole room thundered with applause. Madison bowed, her smile, radiant eyes sparkling. I realized the crystals that had fallen to the floor earlier no longer mattered. What people would remember wasn't a torn dress, but an unbreakable heart. Heather didn't say a word throughout the results announcement. When Madison stepped down, Amber and Ashley ran over to hug her, tears in their eyes. "You were amazing." "Sorry about my mom." Heather watched, lips pressed tight, no more smirks. "Just a loser, not because she didn't win, but because she lost to a 12-year-old's courage." I stepped closer, looked her straight in the eyes. "Next time, Heather, be better prepared." She turned away silent. For the first time, I saw Heather quiet. The competition ended with Madison taking first place, not just for technique, but for the story behind it. One judge shared, "We don't just score technique, but also mental strength." Madison was invited back on stage to receive an additional award, Most Admirable Fighting Spirit. She bowed her head and said, "We can't always control what happens, but we can choose how to respond. I choose to stand up." The whole room rose to their feet. Heather left the hall without a word goodbye. On the way home, Madison rested her head on my shoulder. "Mom, are you still sad?" she asked. "No, sweetheart, I'm just proud." She smiled, eyes closed. I remembered the late nights we spent practicing the times she fell and got back up. She didn't just win a contest. She beat doubt, jealousy, and even a selfish adult. I didn't need anyone to confirm that. To me, Madison had become a warrior in the brightest way. The next morning, on the dance parents group chat, a post appeared. Has anyone else seen Heather acting inappropriately with other contestants' outfits? Many comments agreed. Someone shared the coffee incident from last year. Another spoke about how she forced her kids to overtrain. Heather's behavior was being exposed. She went silent in all groups. Amber and Ashley were transferred to a new class. I wasn't happy. But I believe justice doesn't have to be loud. It just needs to be persistent enough not to be forgotten. A week later, Madison received an invitation to perform at a statewide children's exchange program. Sophia messaged, "I always believed you would make a difference." She smiled and said, "I don't need revenge anymore, just to keep dancing." I knew the most valuable thing Madison gained wasn't the prize, but the steady courage for. We returned to the dressing room. Madison wore warm-up clothes covering the purple dress. I carried the bag with the torn dress, wearing a carefully practiced, worried look. Heather immediately noticed. "Did you fix it?" Her voice dripping with fake concern. "We'll try," I answered, half truthful, half pretending, eyes tired but practiced. Madison sat quietly, pretending to focus. Other contestants looked at us with sympathy. Only Sophia stood from afar, gently nodding at me like a signal. "The plan is working." I knelt and whispered to Madison, "Dance with your heart, not your feet. No matter the result, I'm always proud of you." Madison smiled, no longer afraid, only determined. "I'm excited, Mom. It's time for Aunt Heather to see who I really am." Madison's name was called. I hugged her one last time. "This is your moment, honey." And then right on time, Madison took off her warm-up clothes. The stunning purple dress appeared under the hallway lights. The effect was like a breath being taken. The dressing room froze. A few opponents gawked. I turned around. Heather stood behind. Her mouth dropped open, eyes wide as if seeing the impossible. Shock, unconcealed. Her lips pressed tightly to hide the astonishment with a forced smile, but it was too late. Sophia quickly adjusted Madison's dress. "You're shining brilliantly now," she whispered. I watched Madison walk onto the stage, walking like a warrior. The little girl who used to hide behind my dress whenever she was scared was now carrying her own light. The music played. The stage fell silent. Madison stepped in, and from the first move, I knew we were witnessing something special. Not just technique, but soul. Every movement told a story, a strength overcoming pain, a courage facing lies, a heart that knows forgiveness and still dares to dream. The purple dress flowing like mist twirled with every pirouette. Madison performed 5 flawless spins, then smoothly transitioned into jumps that seemed to defy gravity. I glanced at the judges. They were fully absorbed. One whispered to the next. Another leaned forward, eyes fixed. It was no longer a competition. It was an artistic moment, and Madison was writing her name with emotion. The music faded. Madison finished with a perfect arabesque, holding her pose until the last second. The whole auditorium erupted. A wave of applause. The audience stood, whistles, wow sounds ringing out. I choked back tears. Sophia hugged me from behind, whispering, "She didn't just dance, she told a story." Backstage buzzed. Contestants and parents came to congratulate Madison. Even the twins' highly trained rivals approached, quietly saying, "Your dress, it's amazing, and your dance, unmatched." Heather stood a few meters away. She turned and walked off, saying nothing. But her eyes still followed Madison, not with suspicion, but with defeat. Madison bowed her head in thanks, humble, but the light in her eyes was unmistakable. An hour after the competition, the hall was packed. Madison had changed into regular clothes, sitting next to me, her hand tightly gripping mine. The MC stepped forward, starting the announcement. I felt my daughter's breath quicken. Even after giving her all, even after making the audience stand, this was still a contest. Third prize goes to... A name was called, not Madison's. Second prize goes to... Another name. Madison looked at me, eyes flickering. A silence. Then the MC's voice rang out clearly and formally. First prize in the children's contemporary category with special recognition for emotional expression, Madison Mitchell. I jumped up with her. The hall thundered with applause. The trophy and certificate were handed to Madison, her face radiant like the stage lights shining down. As the applause had not yet ended, Heather rushed to the organizers. She pointed at us, her voice low but sharp. "Bias. I demand a review of the judging criteria." I stepped closer, calm but firm. "Is there a problem, Heather?" She turned, forcing a smile, but her eyes were as sharp as knives. "Oh no. just surprised. But I guess the judges have their own taste. I smiled lightly, saying nothing more. We didn't need to. The trophy Madison held and the genuine admiration from the whole hall was the sharpest answer. As we left the hall, Sophia whispered to Madison softly, "This victory is not just about the trophy. It's about how you cleverly outsmarted the adults' plan." I squeezed Madison's hand. "You make me prouder than anything." Madison looked at me, eyes full of trust. "Mom, if Aunt Heather tries to win, she still can't beat what I brought to the stage today, that's heart." I looked at my daughter, who once feared the spotlight, feared judgment. Now, standing tall like a little warrior in purple armor, Heather and her manipulations today were defeated not by revenge, but by light. This story is no longer about a dress or a competition. It's about a girl who knows who she is and dares to shine in her own way. Heather didn't give up after the failure. She rushed to the competition director. Her voice sharp. "Madison's performance outfit doesn't match the registration. That's a clear violation." But the director, a person with over 20 years of experience, calmly replied, "In cases where the outfit is damaged, contestants have the right to change if approved by the stage manager." Madison was approved. "There's no violation." Heather tried to salvage the situation, accusing Madison of an unfair surprise by wearing a different outfit. The director just gave a faint smile. "We score based on technique and emotion, not the opponent's expectations." The conversation ended with congratulations for Madison. Heather's face flushed red. She grabbed the twins and left the ceremony, leaving Kevin standing there confused and embarrassed. The story didn't end there. After the awards, Madison was surrounded by younger dancers asking for photos and autographs as if she was a celebrity. Sophia was approached by parents asking about classes. This success was not just a trophy, but a confirmation, kindness, genuine emotion, always winning over scheming games. I watched Madison. She didn't boast or show arrogance. She bowed her head to thank every compliment, shared credit with her teacher, and praised even the opponents who performed well. I was moved. My daughter is not just a talented dancer. She is becoming a young woman who earns respect. That evening, we celebrated at Geppe's, Madison's favorite Italian restaurant. The mushroom ravioli was served. The atmosphere was warm. Ryan, who just arrived in time to see the performance, was still amazed. "I can't believe Heather went that far. It's a kids' competition." I shook my head. For Madison, it's not just a competition. It's where she proves her worth to the whole family. At that moment, Ryan got a call from Kevin. He left the table for a few minutes, then returned with a complicated expression. Kevin said he wants to apologize. He saw the torn dress backstage, and Ashley told him the truth. I froze. It seemed not all children were complicit in their mother's game. Ashley, Heather's daughter, told Kevin the truth. No excuses, no cover-ups. I looked at Ryan and sighed softly. Maybe the twins are also under pressure from their own mother. It's not easy living with someone who puts winning above kindness. We began to suspect the dark side of Heather's family. Could those girls be lost, forced to chase a glory that's not theirs? In the following days, Madison's video began spreading throughout the local dance community. The studio's social media buzzed. Parents sent congratulatory messages, asked about classes, and wanted to register. And then an unexpected message arrived in my inbox. The prestigious Westridge Dance Academy, once a distant dream, sent an invitation to audition. Madison was invited to join Westridge's associate program, training top young talents. Though young, they saw in her maturity and professional performing style. While I was rejoicing over this news, another unexpected message came from Ashley. "Can Madison come to our birthday party next month? We really want her to come, even if our mom seems weird about everything." Ryan and I exchanged looks. We understood. This was not just an invitation. It was a big question about boundaries and forgiveness. Could we let our daughter stay close to kids whose mother once sabotaged her, or would we punish the children for the adults' mistakes? We agreed to hold a family meeting. A quiet cafe, no stage lights, no music, only the truth. Kevin apologized again, but Heather still tried to avoid it. "Accidents happen at every competition," she said. Her eyes avoided contact, until Kevin interrupted. "Seriously?" Ashley said. "She told you if Madison's dress tore, our daughter would win." Heather froze, blushed. She misunderstood. "I was just trying to boost their confidence." The conversation became a loop: denial, diversion, refusal. Then Ryan spoke short and firm. We needed clear rules. The girls are cousins, not victims in an adult war. After that meeting, we set clear boundaries. No one could access others' competition documents. If the girls competed together, it had to be declared in advance. And especially no family gatherings near major competition times. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. We kept our distance from Kevin's family. Holiday gatherings became polite but cold. Yet what surprised me was the twins still kept in touch with Madison. They texted asking about routines, seeking advice on music choices. I was almost certain Heather didn't know. Silently, another sisterly bond quietly existed, a bond rising above the wounds caused by adults. Thanks to a $5,000 scholarship, Madison attended advanced workshops learning from instructors at a major ballet company. Sophia realized Madison's strength was musicality and deep expressiveness, something that couldn't be taught, only felt. She started private training with a coach specializing in expression and storytelling through dance. At the same time, Madison befriended Isabella, a dancer she once competed with. They supported each other like sisters, no rivalry. Going to class together, sharing music and technique. More than steps, Madison learned a big lesson: true talent doesn't come from competition, but connection. Connection with the audience, with friends, and with herself. One day, I stood silent in the studio. Madison was guiding younger dancers, gentle, subtle. She bent down, correcting every move without a single harsh word. Instead, she encouraged, "You're almost there. Just a little more." Wrist rotation. A little girl started crying because she forgot her routine, but Madison knelt to her eye level. I was like, "You nervous and out of rhythm." But I kept dancing, and then I remembered. I suddenly realized Madison didn't just overcome Heather. She didn't just win the competition. She conquered herself and is inspiring the next generation. 6 months passed since the incident. Our family settled into a new normal. No noise, no showiness. But one thing was clear: Madison had matured from a talented dancer into a compassionate leading young woman. I used to think the key to victory was excellent technique. But now I understand what truly makes a dancer shine is how she rises after every fall. If you're raising a child with dreams, teach them to keep going even when the lights go out. Because the stage is not just a place to perform, it's where your child learns how to live. If you relate to this story, please share it. Because maybe somewhere out there there's another Madison who needs a little more strength.